So, one, two. Today, I'd like to welcome Ross Aiken of the Gallifrey's Most Wanted podcast as the guest for Fantastic Fan podcast. So, Ross, why don't we start off with how you got into comics growing up?
I am the fifth of six children. I have two older brothers. We're like in the middle, and we were driving across country in 1972, and I wouldn't leave my biggest brother, Hugh, alone, so he gave me a couple comic books to shut me up.
And what were those that he gave you to shut up? Do you remember?
The ones I remember as my first comic books are Avengers 105 by Roy Thomas and John Buscema, and I think the Legion one was later, but it's Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes 197 with the return of Timberwolf with the amazing Dave Cockrum. It's right when he was redesigning all the costumes. So the perfect time to join Legion.
I would agree with you on that. So what do you do today in comic books? What are you into? What are you doing?
I like most people have downsized. I mean, I used to have like a 50,000 comic collection, but I've downsized to the bare minimum. So I'm basically following my Touchstone comics, the Avengers, Legion, Justice League, but I also do some new indie stuff. I'm really a big fan of Firepower from Image and Family Tree, which is done, which is an amazing Image comic with Phil Hester art.
Okay.
But I'm delving into some of them, and I jump. Basically, I'm rereading. I'm more of a rereader.
I do a lot of rereading also.
Yeah, I mean, I have the apps. I do the digital. I have some, I have my volumes of my Touchstone comics, like the Legion stuff, Justice Society, anything Justice Society, and anything Starman.
Gotcha.
Starman.
I just started rereading the original Fantastic Four run from #1. I think I'm up to like 22, 23, and I can't tell you how many times I've reread that over and over again.
I have never read the first 100 issues. I feel like a bad fan.
That is last. Oh, I can't believe that's not something you should be revealing in public. That's terrible.
I know. I came in on the Thomas, John Buscema stuff. Like the first FFs I read, the lineup was Mr. Fantastic, The Thing, Human Torch, and Medusa.
I mean,
it's a good run.
Yeah, but it's not the original. I can't believe you never read the original.
I am a bad fan. I've never gone back and read it. I keep thinking about doing it. I had the essential volumes, those black and whites.
Actually, it's a really good run. I've actually enjoyed reading it, and I'll probably read it at least through about 100. And I don't know. I've only read the 100 to like 200 like once maybe, and well, actually, like from about 175 to 200, I probably read 4 or 5 times. That's when I really got the Fantastic Four. So, all right, what would you like to talk about today on the podcast?
Well, we mentioned this in because I am a Starman fan. We talked about what I think is one of those amazing Silver Age comics. Hold on a second, make sure I got this right. I sometimes forget the Brave and the Bold 61, where the Starman and Black Canary team up. There are 2 of these issues, 61 and 62.
Now, I believe 61 is the only one for some reason in the digital copy, and you can get that by the Justice League.
It's weird. There are 2 of them. Why don't you just put them both in?
Yeah.
But it's Gardner Fox and Murphy Anderson.
Was it Brave and the Bold, right?
Brave and the Bold 61,
yeah.
It's Gardner.
You would think DC would archive more of those Brave and the Bolds, but they just don't seem to do it.
Oh, and this is an era of Brave and the Bold before it became the Batman book, and it is so good.
Yeah.
And it's where they did a lot of Golden Age, bringing back the Justice Society members and giving them little tryouts.
Spectre and Wildcat run a couple of episodes
Doc
together.
Fate, Hourman.
Yes.
Gardner Fox and Murphy Anderson. And Hourman wasn't, he didn't have a long run in Golden Age. He didn't. But he has the best costume. Such a good costume.
I would agree. This is also the first modern age or Silver Age appearance of the Mist. So
I think it's a touchstone for me because my brother had these. We bought them in this comic shop, and we both reread it. And he goes, he was always turning me on to artists and Murphy Anderson, and it's such a solid, well written comic.
It is, because I've gone through that initial issue, and it is just, the art is just stunning. It's very much a Silver Age style, but in my opinion, each era has its own uniqueness, its own pluses, and this is just some beautifully done art. I really like it. So detailed, and Murphy Anderson is just, he could do everything also. But a lot of them though could do a lot of stuff back then. They just become underrated,
Yeah, I
because
don't.
we
People
forget
don't
about them.
remember him. I find
No,
that sad. There, and he was a great inker. I'm a huge Kurt Swan fan, and Swanderson, that '70s Superman, is stunning. Um, but I really like this one. I mean, and it's something that when in later years I would go back to when James Robinson was doing the modern Starman series in the '90s and early 2000s. That
hmm
he kind of used these two issues as setup to deepen, fleshing out the Starman legacy.
Why do you think he chose Black Canary of all characters?
I, because at this point was
I
she was
don't think
appearing in the crossovers yet?
she was probably appearing, but maybe this was a test to actually send her to Earth One,
Because
possibly. Because I don't think she
it's
went to Earth.
near there, yeah. And she's a very different character um in this one than she is now, because now she's the standard superhero female, female superhero, which is
So
just,
how's Dinah back then different? You know, even before she came to Earth One and got involved with Ollie. I mean, what's so different? Besides, it's actually a different character because isn't still her mother and
yeah.
not.
The best analogy I have is Rosalind Russell in His Girl Friday.
That's actually a good comparison.
She's
Yes,
that
yes.
strong, independent '40s woman, because she's like that in the Gardner Fox Alec Toth, the end run in the Justice Society issues in All Star Squadron, when it became really a team book where they would act in
Okay.
unison. The Golden Age, and this is really a more fleshing. Fox is fleshing her out a little bit more, I think. That when she's Diana Lance and she sees her husband, she's one thing, but when she's out in the action, she's Ted's equal.
Gotcha.
And that, I mean, Gardner Fox wrote Justice Society when it was just really an anthology book in a way. There was
Okay.
an arc, but everybody had their own adventure with different artists. But it's really, you see her. She works in the florist shop, which that's held over until the '90s.
You're right. I forgot about that
Yeah,
because
she's in
in
the
the
florist
Long
shop.
Bow Hunters with Green Arrow, the two of them actually opened up a flower shop in Seattle. And do you think they radically changed the character of Diane when they brought her from Earth One to Earth Two, or do you think they kept the core of
I
the
think
character?
they kept the core for a long while. I'm not. Grell fleshed her out, made her more Raza, made her like that independent. I mean, I think they kept the core. I think they did a lot of retro continuity.
They always do that.
Yeah,
Um, a lot of
but
people new to comics don't really. I mean, you say Silver Age and Golden Age, and it's like you just gave them a plate of plain spinach or broccoli to eat and said, "Just eat this raw." Now, Silver Age, well, it's true. It's like, what's Silver Age? And they look at the art and they look at the story structure, and it's so different. So, Silver Age comics are structured and written differently than today's comics. So, how should a new fan approach reading Silver Age or those Golden Age comics?
I mean, they're two different. It really depends. I mean, you have to look at Golden Age because it's more pulp, especially the early. Like if you go all the way back to the first half of the All Star Comics run with the Justice Society or any of those, they're very short stories. They're very pulp novel in a way. Where Silver Age is, it's more. I don't know how to put this. The stories are more structured. Um, Silver Age DC, but they're one and done. So you're gonna get an entire episode. It's like watching '60s TV compared to now, where the story
Everything
is
is episode,
self-contained.
right? And everything now just goes on for
Yeah, it's
episode,
very
especially like the
serious.
Netflix or, you
It's
got 10
serial.
hour stories.
And until
Um,
you get to really the '60s, later end of the Silver Age, going into the Bronze Age, do you have that continuity thing? Um,
Why don't you think, I know obviously sales is one of the reasons, but it seemed like they had such potential to use the Justice Society more, but they really never did into the the mid 70s. It's
I
like a
really don't
missed
know.
opportunity.
I think it was. I think they were. No one wanted to take them on. I mean, they used them every year in Justice League for what 30 some years, whatever
Yes,
that was. Every
probably.
September,
Yeah,
every Sep
every
got a 2-part
September.
one. I remember.
Um,
I remember those. Those were things that we look. My brother would get look. Um, but I think they tested it. I don't think until Roy left Marvel and he said, just put me in charge of your Earth 2 here, your Earth 2 stuff, and we'll try to see. And they said, you want to do a Justice Society book? And he was like, nah, let me do All-Star Squadron.
and
Okay,
you know,
he had another idea.
I thought when they did Crisis in 84, 85, that DC and the fans would have been better off if they just would have kept like an Earth 1 and Earth 2, you know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't mind I was what, a teenager when it happened.
Yeah, I was
Uh,
about the same thing, but it
yeah, and
just
it didn't bug me as much as older fans. There are certain aspects of post-crisis I love. I love Wally as the Flash. I
I
did.
like the Wally's Flash. Yes,
Yeah, I did not like the Barry Flash. Carrie Bates's run. Really, my brother loves it, but he would try to get me to read it. And I said, it's not me. It's not, he's just too much of a Boy Scout. There's not, I don't want the gritty. I like Ollie Queen, I like Green Arrow, but
I
I did,
like I
but I
like
liked Wally I could see myself as Wally.
okay.
You know.
I thought that with Earth 2, they could actually, with the JSA having an Earth 2, they could take chances that you couldn't in the regular, DC
Yeah.
universe. You know,
Oh yeah.
you had a Huntress who was to me was much more interesting than any iteration of Huntress since then. And you have poor Power Gold, who does she even have an origin anymore? I mean, she just, it's like the
Oh
character got watered down, when they
yeah.
lost that special uniqueness. So,
I think
um,
until yeah, I think you're right. And I think until Goyers and Johns did a Justice Society book in the 90s and early 2000s.
they almost ignored the whole, oh, we're on one Earth, and almost like set it symbolically onto an Earth too all by itself because they meshed the Golden Age, the Silver Age, and all those.
Yeah, they
You
made
know,
it a legacy thing. Like
exactly.
we're the first superheroes. Everybody looks up to us, and we're going to train the next generation. I think that's one of my favorite book runs,
I would have,
superhero team runs. It's because they got them, and they got what Johns, especially Johns, did is he didn't look back to post crisis. He looked further back for their characterizations.
exactly. I mean,
He looked
because they
back.
have
He
a
really was.
history all
Yeah.
the way going back to the Golden Age and embraced and acknowledged
Oh, he was. He
their
was.
histories.
Yeah, he was riffing on Gardner Fox, Jerry Conway, and Lynn Wein. It reads really like there's. He definitely read the same Justice League satellite era that I read.
Yes, people don't understand the satellite era.
Oh my God, it's
This
so
was
good.
unique. It was a unique era because before then, the Justice League had a headquarters in a mountain, which has been repurposed many times. And then they got this really cool satellite Justice League up in the sky, and the team was pretty stable all the way through it.
Yeah, and it was a good mix of young, new, and old heroes,
Yes.
especially
Ooh,
when they started adding Zatara and Firestorm. And I,
yes.
I have a bunch of I had a huge collections of action figures, and I got rid of most of them. And the only things I kept were a handful of Alex Ross Justice Society, the Johns, and my Red Tornado. And my buddy was like, "Oh, why are you keeping that one? That's a stupid." I went, "Don't you say anything about that costume."
Red
I,
Tornado is another character they haven't really appreciated and used its legacy as much as they should have, in the last
and
few years.
Yeah, they don't. And I read Young Justice, the original run of Young Justice. I thought it was a fun little kids comic. It was a good all age. It's what a comic was when I was a kid. Is you could read it if you were 5 years old, or you could read it if you were 25 years old.
And that's what
Um,
makes the good comics, that
it
you
is.
can, it doesn't matter your age group and you can read them. All
No,
right. Um, so Dinah's Black Canary has been around forever in so many variations. What would you consider some of the classic stuff of Black Canary and Dinah that you would suggest people read?
the satellite era of Justice League is always a good start. She's really a prominent because they lose Wonder Woman.
Yes.
for a while,
And
and she moves to the forefront. And I think that's where, in Silver and Bronze Age, where she really shines.
and
She's a
becomes
leader.
her own.
Yeah, yeah. I like. She's great in the Grell era Green Lantern. I think she's well written there, and I think the Giffen D. Matisse Justice League she's really fun. She's a fun character. You
Speaking
know.
of that, which she's had like 3 or 4 different costumes. Which is your favorite? The old fishnet?
Yeah, I still think the fish bet net and the Buccaneer boots works. The '80s one is very '80s. You know.
Obviously.
Yeah, yeah, and basically her costume nowadays is a variation on the fishnets. It always is a tweak. The best ones are always the ones that's a tweak on. I mean, it's
The
Alec Toth.
original.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's Alex Toth. I mean, it's a good character design. There are artists, and you can't go wrong with a Toth design costume, a Cockrum design costume, a Kirby design costume. There are people that were better at it. Um,
Exactly.
and I think I like her more as the My Girl Friday. She's, I mean, she never plays second fiddle to Ollie in the Grell era.
She was actually Ollie's equal and would, tit for tat and wouldn't let the man get away with anything. Even in the Justice League run when he
Yeah.
left the Justice League for those, and she's like, "You're an idiot. I'm not leaving the Justice League." And she never played. You're right. She never played second fiddle.
No.
Later in their history, they got married. How do you think they handled that marriage overall?
I don't
Do you
think
think
I
it was
was.
good?
I didn't read it really. I mean, I
You
wasn't
didn't
that
read it?
interested in it. I don't think. I think her and Ollie both lost their. I was a huge Ollie fan, and I think in the more. I'm not. I don't think they're bad. I'm just not. It's not connecting to me. These more. I think they've tried to fix it post 52
Yes,
to
a
make them a
little
couple
bit.
again. Yeah, they've kind of, they're doing this thing, and that we're going to find out the end of this whole whatever they're doing now, that everything that happened in the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, and Modern Age all happened to Superman, Batman, Green Arrow, anybody that was a legacy hero. Ollie
Those
even says
things
in one issue,
actually
goes,
happen.
"Yes, this happened. I was in a team called the Seven Soldiers of Victories in the 1940s, and there, but you're." And he goes, that's just what happened. That's what they're having the heroes say, because they're doing it in those side projects. That's it's all coming around. And I think they've made a correction. I think I've read a little bit more of the more recent issues, and they're correcting mistakes they've made,
because
and they're moving back toward, well, these characters were better when they were connected.
I thought that Ali and Dinah were stronger, better characters when they had that connection going on between them.
It should
You
always
know,
be a team book. It is.
yes, they complement each other so well. And it goes back decades.
Yeah,
I
and it
I really
really.
have a
Yeah.
problem with. I have a problem when companies like take their legacy couples and just kind of kick them underneath the mat and just, oh, this could happen. And it's like, but it did happen. And I think lately with the Lois and Clark, you can show how a couple in, well, even Reed and Sue, where a couple can actually be a couple, still be independent without having to split. You know what I mean? Without
Yeah.
splitting them up and causing. Well, because in the Bronze Age Fantastic Four, it was always breaking up Sue, always breaking up, their marriage and thing. But Reed and Sue are stronger together now.
Yeah.
Same with Clark and Lois. And you don't need Clark and Lois to be together. They can go off and do their own things, and they do their own things. It's the same thing with, well, in the Justice League now, you have Black Canary going off and doing her thing, and Ollie, which is kind of cool, running the Justice League and also doing Checkmate, but they're still together.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm catching up on that. I like the idea of Checkmate. I like Alec Believe, who's doing the art, and that Manhunter. I would always recommend that early 2000s Manhunter run.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
Yes,
because that's,
that is
again,
a good.
I'm a huge Justice Society fan. These legacy, and that became a huge legacy book. That she was interconnected to Iron Monroe from Young All Stars and all this neat stuff. And there's back to the thing with Ollie and Diane, what is
Dinah.
Dinah? Sorry. that they work better as a team that you have for these books. The thing that works best, like in the Batman books, there's the Batman family of heroes. So you're reading this not just for Bruce, but for Bruce and Robin and Damian and Jason. It's very much, I mean, and I think some of like modern TV steals from these aspects where like what I call the Whedon model, where in an adventure show, and they CW use it. You can't do a show about the Flash. You have to do a show about the Flash and his family and his friends. You need it works better as an ensemble.
Exactly, and they honor their past instead of ignoring the past things.
Yeah. You have to have a connection. Superman doesn't work without Lois and Jimmy.
I also think he doesn't work with Perry. His boss Perry. He doesn't work with mine Pa Kent. Aren't in the equation either. You know, he had years where there was no mine Pa Kent.
People complained about Byrne bringing him back, and I thought it was probably the best thing he did.
Yes, I would agree.
Okay.
Okay. So, would you like to add anything else before we end this today, Ross? Any last comments on Black Canary and this whole era that we talked about?
I would go back and just look at these. Go on the digital for whatever of the first 100 Brave and Bolds. Anything before it became a Batman book. There are some gems of stories, good mixed use of characters. Actually, Martian Manhunter was kind of the lead every once in a while.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, it would be him. Yeah,
he did something. I think with maybe
he's Flash, the first team up. The first team up in the series was him and Green Arrow.
I did not know that.
No, before that it was more like Showcase, and when they started and then it became a team up book with anybody, and then they just gave it to Batman, and that was an amazing run. I will always recommend Brave and Bold when it was Batman and Jim Aparo was doing the art. If you want to see some, but these early ones, because you're getting Swan, I mean, you're getting Murphy Anderson, you're getting Gardner Fox, and and it is a test book. I mean, it really is a test drive to see if we can give these characters their own books. I think, Showcase definitely was that, but check these out. Check out Showcase too. Early Brave and the Bold, early Showcase are joys to read.
Gotcha. All right, Ross. Well, I'd like to thank you for joining me today on the Fantastic Fan Podcast. And I hope you'd like to come back again and do another segment on something totally different.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.